really too much hard. Well, I'm gonna say, well, I was like, my passion was DJing. Like I started DJing around like 11, 12 years old.
Now
Probably
this is before Serato. This is before the computer. This is
this is
straight
before
vinyl.
this is straight Technique 1200s. I learned on a mix board, a
Ah,
6-inch
got you.
mixer. Like I learned the basics of mixing and everything. So my whole through junior high, I was a DJ. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
And even in that, that's how I linked up with shout out to my man Shaheen the Rugged Child. Met him through
mhm.
him needing a DJ years ago, and that's how I had met him. And but after as years went by, like I always dibble dabbled. Like I was always freestyling. I would always freestyle with my boys and stuff like that. And a friend of mine named Ghetto, he told me like, yo, you need to write it down. Like you need to really like you have a lot to say. So
Mhm.
and that process started once I started like writing it down. I took it more like seriously. Like but I was kept everything to myself at first. I was too shy back then.
I got you. I got you. You know, um, this game called hip hop is really, it really has changed the lives of many.
Hmm.
It usually grabs people in their childhood.
Hmm.
So for you, if you could remember back, what age did you fall in love with hip hop? Like what age did she grab you and say by your neck and say, "Come here, I ain't letting you go"? When can you remember date back when?
I say it had to be probably around like it was in the '80s definitely. I was probably about like 8, 9 years old. Whenever Criminal Minded came out, KRS-One Criminal Minded
Mm.
came out, that opened my ears to rap. Like that was the first time. Like I heard Sugar Hill Gang before, but that was a lot
Right.
older than me. I didn't understand it. But when I heard Criminal Minded, I was in the back of a van riding with my father through Brooklyn. He was in Brownsville,
Uh-huh.
and that came on the radio, and it was like I lost my mind, and I've been addicted to it ever since. Like it was that beat and just the criminal minded. You've been blinded. It was just
Blinded,
like
yeah.
ever since that, it just took over. I've been hip hop ever since, man.
Yeah, yeah. What do you remember what do you remember back then when that song dropped? You say you was riding with your pops through Brooklyn.
Hmm.
You know, what do you remember the generation like back then? Was music very prevalent like in your household? Like was hip hop as it I don't want to say as it is today, but
Hmm.
the radio, if you can remember back then, like was it like a real pure sound and when you listened to it your ears was glued to the radio?
Yeah, well, as you know, back then it wasn't too much. They wasn't really hip hop wasn't as big as it is now as far as radio
Correct.
stations. So it was more or less you would see hip hop on your travels. Like when I would go to Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, I remember um seeing dudes with the big radios they had on their shoulders, the cardboards on the floor doing breakdance, the graffiti trains, the walls,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah.
Like all of that, I even did graffiti a little bit in my days, a little vandalism, but that
Right.
comes with the territory. So, but
Right.
that's what I remember. Like it was like a real everywhere you went, it was a real big cultural thing. Like it wasn't everybody was into it. Everybody dressing and it was an expression. Like
Right.
and that's what I remember. Like it wasn't until like I got a little older that they started broadening that, radio stations really picked up on it.
You mentioned earlier that you was a little shy when you started writing your raps. You really wouldn't let
Yeah.
anyone per se hear it.
Yeah.